All right, I'm Sam,
And now I'm Samri.
and welcome to the Lines Between the Stars podcast. Woo!
Ooh.
We've been not very consistent with our recording schedule.
Yeah.
So, and this time this is a special Clubhouse episode where we're also kind of like live broadcasting towards Clubhouse. So, hey everyone on Clubhouse, hello everyone on YouTube.
Yeah.
So today, you've been in the last couple weeks super into Clubhouse.
I'm
Like,
addicted.
Obsessed.
It is a problem.
Yeah, you were giving me a bunch of like words on my social media addiction, and now like
Yeah.
I'm like seeing you, I'm like, I see.
Yeah.
I see.
But yeah, it's I mean, yeah, you noted last night that it might be because of the pandemic that I'm like,
Yeah, like you don't have that much social interactions, and like I mean, for me, I have my like gaming group, so I play games with my friends online, and like we stay social. But like
Yeah.
you've like, other than me, you haven't really been like interacting with other people.
yeah, that's true. Plus I used to have a friend that I used to talk to almost every day.
Mm-hmm.
But then we recently stopped talking.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
That's
Yeah, I remember
also
that.
another.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Yeah, and even if you're like an introverted person, like I think some social interaction is like good.
Yeah.
You know, like I tend to be more introverted, but you know, occasionally I do like to talk to other people.
Yeah. I mean, it is a human need, right?
Yeah,
To connect, even if you're empathic. Because I tend to have this thing about, um, like, I absorb all the emotions around me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that could be overwhelming a lot
Right.
of times. So,
Yeah. Okay.
and yeah. Anyways.
So let's go to the first question. So a lot of these are, since you join a lot of like, you know, rooms with black women and
Yeah.
such like that, and you guys talk about how like, you know, you talk about Asian guys, and I would say that there's not as many Asian guys that join these rooms.
Yeah, yeah.
So like, you know, whenever I overhear stuff, it's like, what are these aliens called Asian men?
Yeah, what do they think?
Yeah. So I think this podcast will be a way to just like answer some of those questions. That way, you know, Sammy won't have to repeat it over and over again. She can just send the link like, here, watch this.
Yeah. And since you are an Asian man, like, there's more credibility instead
Yeah.
of me just being like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, this is what my fiance thinks, you know?
A little bit of information on me. Know that I am a very Americanized Asian man. I'm mostly delivering this from like the Asian American experience.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even then, that's not like, you know, it's not indicative to all Asian men, but you know, it's a good, you know, generalization.
Yeah. It's better than nothing.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
you're still Asian. Like,
Yeah.
you do understand Vietnamese. You watch anime.
Yeah. Is that the thing of like determining whether or not I'm Asian or not?
It's
when
not,
I watch
but
anime?
but you know, like when people look at you,
Yeah.
they're not like, oh, he's white.
Right. Okay.
Even though you only have white friends.
All right. Question 1. Let's go.
It's about colorism.
Okay. Well, you ask the question. You ask the question, and I'll answer it.
Okay. So in the Asian community, how do you guys deal with colorism?
Let's see. So describe colorism to me as someone who is
Oh, okay.
not very experienced in that.
Okay, cool. So colorism means that, you know, there's a spectrum in communities, like especially people of color, as far as like there's light and then there's dark.
Yeah.
Melanin content.
Right.
And then based on how much melanin you have, you're judged
Okay.
poorly if you're darker.
Okay. So I'm Vietnamese, so I'm Southeast Asian, and we get pretty tan. You know, like we get pretty dark. So that's actually like more of the norm. I remember growing up, and it was actually like, you're more healthier if you're like had a bit of tan in you,
Yeah,
you know?
that's for the men though.
Yeah, for the
The
men.
women have to be light, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That's true.
The what is it called? The ivory? Is it?
Fair skin, or like I remember reading I used to be into reading some like Chinese fiction, and always hear the term jade skin,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, jade skin, so they're green, and I'm like, no, no, that's not that jade. It's like the ivory sort of jade, where it's
Mm-hmm.
like it's white, it's like pure white. And so I was like, huh, they always everyone all like the beautiful women in like these stories have like jade ivory like skin pretty much.
They're described as like a stone,
Yeah,
a type
like
of.
that's like pure, like like without any blemishes or anything like that.
Mm-hmm. So it is mostly okay. Colorism is something that mostly affects women
Yeah,
in colored communities.
right. Well, let's see. I have seen some things where that like the ivory skin is used for a guy as well, you know?
Oh, okay.
I don't know if you've seen many like Chinese fantasy stories, but man, those guys are like pretty, like Chinese comic books and stuff
Oh,
like
oh yeah,
those
yeah,
are
yeah.
some pretty men, you
They
know.
they do wear makeup
Yeah, they do wear makeup and stuff like
to
that.
lighten their skin.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It
So
is a
like
serious thing. Yeah.
yeah, so the long-haired like Chinese warriors,
Yeah,
and,
yeah, yeah.
like they also have pearly white skin too. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like yeah, I mean, yeah.
You can talk more about how, like, in the Asian community, masculinity is kind of different.
Yeah, in terms of masculinity, it is different. I was raised to be kind of like good, like, as a man, you kind of have to be like good at everything, and being a man is like being able to like be a pillar of support, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that was like that was manly. So another thing too, I remember growing up and being like, oh, like you need to be able to like play an instrument, stuff
Mm,
like that, because that is also a thing that like determines like your worth, like being able to be like skilled in multiple things, right?
interesting. Okay.
Yeah, and it wasn't just like like athletics and sports, and actually like intelligence is actually the most like important trait for Asian men,
Hmm.
right? Um,
It is attractive.
Yeah, yeah. And because like having intelligence means you're gonna have a good job, which means you're gonna be
Mm,
able to support the
yeah,
you're
yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
able to support the family.
Yeah, you would be able to get a job that pays more than
Yeah,
like manual labor.
yeah. And then like, in Asian cultures, right, as the man of the family, like I mean this is traditionally, this isn't like what I experienced,
Mm-hmm.
but like, in other days where you have like generational houses,
Mm-hmm.
the guy's gonna have to like it's expected for like the eldest son to just be able to support everyone,
Oh, okay.
right?
Up to your great grandparents or so, or
Yeah,
whoever
yeah,
is alive, right?
whoever's alive,
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
That's a lot of pressure.
that is a lot of pressure. That's why like the oldest sons usually have a lot of pressure, and then as you get younger and younger, there's like less pressure. So usually see like younger sons having like they're able to become artists or something like that, because like
Mm-hmm.
the person taking care of the family's got it covered,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. It's like Prince Harry was
Yeah.
able to marry Meghan Markle
Mm-hmm.
because he is not the first son.
Right, right.
Just also similar to your case.
Yeah.
You are the younger son, so you are able to date a black woman.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I am 100% able to date a black woman because my older brother has already been married, has kids, so they're like
Yeah.
so for me
He
it's like
married a Vietnamese woman.
yeah, so in my case it's like, oh, okay, it's like it's lightened up, like,
Yeah.
okay.
And then I will talk about colorism in the black community. So, in
Yeah.
the black community, like, I mean, it depends on the family. Because,
Mhm.
like, the family determines how you view yourself, your self esteem, and all that stuff. But the greater community, um, there's this pressure to be lighter. Or, I mean, I guess technically you can't be lighter, but I'm hearing more these days there's like skin bleaching
Yeah.
in West Africa.
Okay.
And I mean, even in East Africa, because I had an Ethiopian friend, or not friend, but like we were roommates once,
Okay.
and there was this Light and Lovely or whatever. It's a cream by
Yeah.
Dove
Right.
where you put it on and you're supposed to be lighter.
Hmm.
And then also my brother dates a Filipino woman,
Yeah.
and they're like super like into taking pills that lightens their skin.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's side effects and stuff. Like having melanin does protect your skin. It's a
Yeah.
natural sunscreen,
Yeah.
and it also preserves your skin from getting wrinkles and dark spots and skin cancer. All these benefits, but you know, like the human mind is it's a curious thing.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, in the Black community, you know, in general, Black men prefer lighter skinned Black women. Like basically, if it's a woman who has like any drop of Black in her, she's considered Black for the
Yeah.
sake of Black men.
Huh. Yeah.
That way, like if Black men consider a woman Black, then she is Black.
Right.
It's not determined by Black women.
Yeah, in Asian communities, like the whole thing of like blood gets like, because usually, here's the thing, Asians don't even like other Asians in a lot of cases, Like I know a lot of like Korean and Chinese families have a lot of beef with like Japanese people, right?
Because of the history.
Yeah, because of the history. And even like I've had a coworker one time. He told me a story of when he was younger. He was dating he was Vietnamese and he was dating a Korean woman, and then like the family gave him like a lot of trouble because he wasn't Korean.
Oh.
He was Vietnamese, and then he ended up like not like
Oh,
continuing.
they broke up?
They broke up. Yeah.
Oh no. That's
So
sad.
no, that like I think that's one of our topics about like the pressures of like being worried about joining the family. Don't worry, even if you weren't Black, if you were like a different race, the parents would probably hate you regardless.
Yeah.
You
I
know?
mean, technically, I guess in a broader whatever umbrella, Vietnamese and Koreans and Japanese and Chinese, they're all Asian.
Yeah, they're all Asian, but like
But within
we're
the
all different. We're all pretty different, all things considering. Like
Yeah.
in terms of like food, culture,
Language.
language. Like we're all pretty different.
Yeah. And like the reason why you're rejected wouldn't be only because you're Black
Yeah.
or
Right.
because you're darker skinned
Yeah.
or yeah.
Let's see.
The other topic. Oh,
Oh, I think we're getting into this. The next question is how to deal with prejudiced parents, friends, and siblings. Yeah, I can talk into this. So, one way to deal with it is kind of just like, show off you as your best person, right? I know one thing that really helps you.
yeah.
know?
You told.
I would give you advice
Yeah,
on like
how
how
to
to act or like what to like kind of like do in
Yeah,
front of my
yeah.
parents, and mostly just one thing is like treat the parents with respect. Say like when you go to them, you have to say hi to them.
Yeah. I have to like get their attention and be like, hello.
Yeah, like
Hi.
you have to say hi, and that's a very important thing because like you as a new person coming into the house have to say hi to them. Say hi to them.
Yeah.
Right?
Because the house belongs to them, it's their space.
Yeah.
And when you're coming in as a guest, it would be weird if you just like sit down at
Yeah.
the family table without just like acknowledging
Right.
the parents.
Right. And I mean, this was a thing that my parents told me to do to go to someone else's house too,
Mm.
right? So it's not just like what they want to do. They expect me to do the same thing too, like when I visit other people. And like, you know, growing up when visiting my white friends, and I would, you know, like I see their parents, I was like, oh hey, like how are you doing?
Yeah.
And then like the parents like, wow, this kid is like really nice, you know? And then like my parents growing up seeing my friends, and my friends never did that.
Yeah.
So like they would always have bad impressions of all my
okay.
friends, you know.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, white kids.
Yeah, but you know, even if, yeah, because like in my mind, you have to get over your fear of like meeting new people as well.
Yeah.
Because like I'm, you know, like generally introverted.
Yeah.
Like, so I don't go up to people and be
Yeah.
like, hi. Even at work, I don't say hi to anyone.
Right.
Unless they're super chill.
Yeah.
I don't say hi. But you know, like when I started dating you, I was like, okay, I have to get out of my shell more.
Yeah. Because part of it's also just like my parents have to get to know you, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like if you can't just know
Vetting me, yeah.
And because they're like, because in Asian culture, it's like you're going to be joining our family, right?
Yeah.
And at the same time too, it's like they want to be able to make sure that you're like cool, you know, that they're cool, right?
I'm not a psycho.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the same way with my family.
Yeah.
You were vetted as well.
Yeah.
Like, you know, they liked you from the jump because, like, you know, the way your parents raised you, you know, like saying hi to them and talking about different topics. You're smart, you're knowledgeable of like what's going on in the world,
right,
and all that stuff. It's pretty important.
Right. But yeah, know that it is like, you know, it is an uphill battle, right?
It is,
because a lot of Asian parents usually aren't expecting their kid to like bring home a black, like, you know, a black girl, or like they kind of maybe like I think they're a bit more like, you know, they kind of more expect their daughter to bring home a black guy. Versus, you know, versus the son bringing home a black woman. I think it's getting better now because it's definitely happening more. Because I've definitely like heard my parents talking about how they have like a friend where their daughter is marrying a black, you know, a black guy, and they've gone to like the weddings. You know?
Okay.
So it's happening more and more. But like for Asian guys, like. Yeah, I don't know the exact details on that, but I do know for sure that like when I told my mom I was dating a black girl, she's like, "Are you sure?" Like, I'm like, "Yes, Mom, I'm sure." You know.
Yeah, it was like, I guess they thought it was a phase.
Yeah, they just think it's a phase.
Or like that you were desperate or something. Because like they were trying to set you up with.
Yeah, that was the crazy thing too. Like, and it's crazy because I grew up with, you know, zero. Like my parents were like, "Oh, are you looking at a woman of the like? Are you looking at a woman? Are you looking at someone with what guys have XY and women have XX chromosomes, right?
Yeah.
It's like, are you looking at someone that doesn't have a Y chromosome? Why aren't you studying?" And I'm like, oh my gosh, you know, and I never dated. And yeah, as an Asian guy, like you would have to end up needing to like hide any relationship you have, you know, like, or any Asians in general, really. We would just grow up and like if we had a relationship, we would just hide it because we don't want to deal with, you know, our parents getting up our cases. But the moment I finished college, then like my mom started getting really like naggy about like my social life. Because she's like, oh, like she started like inviting me to things like, oh hey, like there's gonna be some young kids here at this thing. Why don't you go with us, and then you can hang out with the young kids. And I'm just like, I don't want to. Right?
Yeah, you have your own friends.
Yeah, I have my own friends. And then like my mom tried to hook me up with like some other girls, and I'm like, and this is the story that like really threw me off one time. So she had a coworker, and that coworker apparently had a niece in Texas, and we live in Washington, right?
Yeah.
And my mom's like, hey, so my coworker has a niece that that's in Texas, and she's single. And I'm like, okay. So how about I give you her contact information and you can like friend her on Facebook and you can talk to her. I'm like, Mom, that's creepy.
It is.
Yeah, and I had to, and like she didn't like think of it. I was like, how's that creepy? And I'm like, Mom, okay, imagine if you were her, you got a message from a guy that's saying, "Hey, your aunt just gave me your personal contact like your
Yeah.
contact information without your knowing." I was like, and that's the thing that I asked her specifically. Does this niece know? And then she couldn't answer me.
Oh.
Right. So I was like, yeah, if you can't answer me, then I'm not doing this, because that's insulting.
Yeah.
And I kind of made her feel bad about that.
Oh.
You know, like I made her very clear that's a bad thing to do. You should not do this.
Yeah, especially in Western cultures.
Yeah.
I think it might have been different if it was
Yeah,
Vietnam, right?
Yeah, maybe matchmaking. You know, like they
Yeah.
just think they're matchmaking, right?
Yeah, they do more of that in like
Yeah.
non-Western countries.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's definitely, I mean, like in the past, even in the West, there was a lot of matchmaking.
Yeah.
Like people know the families they're going into.
Yeah. And I mean, like now too, like I've grown up older to the point where like I give my parents a lot more sass now. You know?
You stand up.
I'm more sassy with my parents nowadays. So like if they do something that I don't agree with, I'm just like, look, that's not right. I'm not doing that. You know, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, before you would just say, okay.
Yeah, like as a kid, like I can't
just
fight back.
be quiet,
But
yeah.
like now, I'm like I pay taxes. Like I don't live under their house. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
What
You
are
have
you
your own
gonna?
place.
Yeah, I'm like, what are you actually going to do to me? Right?
Yeah, yeah. That's true. The power is
Yeah.
different. Let's see. With my parents, I think it was pretty easy
Yeah, that's pretty
to
easy.
get accepted.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I am half Ethiopian,
Mm-hmm.
half Jamaican. My mom is the Ethiopian person,
Yeah.
and then I grew up partly in Ethiopia as well,
Mm-hmm.
and so I have that perspective, and so he met both sides. So he he went to the East Coast to meet with my Jamaican side, and my dad really like they got along.
Yeah, we got along pretty well.
He was
You play ping
like
pong. Your dad plays like ping pong just as well as like an Asian guy like
as your dad.
as my dad. So like I knew that he was just schooling. Like when he was schooling me, I knew he was just going. There were times where he's like, "Oh, you're going easy on me, just like my dad is right now."
Yeah, and you know, he was giving him advice about prostate cancer.
Yeah.
And
I'm
I
like,
feel like that's a sign that someone likes you,
I mean,
right?
yeah, my dad. I mean, yeah, like that's the advice you give family, because I know
Yeah.
my dad gives me advice on prostate cancer. I'm like, okay, Dad, I'll get my butt examined when
Yeah.
I'm old enough.
Yeah, when I heard that, I was like, okay, now he accepts him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And then also like, here's another thing too: eat the food, no matter like, or at least try it, right?
yeah. That's another advice you gave me.
Yeah.
Like when I go to his parents' house, there's all kinds of food that I've
Yeah.
never tried before, but I still try it.
Yeah, I'm like, I told you, it's like, try it, because that will be the thing that gives you the most respect, right?
Yeah.
And that applies to, like, Asians going to black, because I'm pretty sure, like, you know, like, there is, like, the black cuisine, you know, there's soul, there's soul food, right?
Yeah. Soul
And-
food, Ethiopian food, Jamaican food.
Yeah, like, the black culture has their own food, and, you know, when you bring someone else in, you want, you know, your parents are making food, and you bring home, like, you know, some guy or some girl, and like they try the food, and your parents are going to be like impressed too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
if
they're impressed that you use berbere.
yeah.
Like
Yeah, they're impressed that I use bebere.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and then like, you know, like imagine like, you know, for more like example of like in more of like American black culture, imagine if someone like comes by and then like, oh, and they like go eat like pork hock, or they like eat like collard greens, or like some, or you know, like like pork cheek or something, like, you know, something like that, and that you would be like, oh, like only my people usually eat this stuff, but then like you see an outsider eat this, you're like, oh dang.
yeah, you make connections between the cultures.
Yeah, and it's a bit of like the cultures too, and you know, like, hey, guess what, we Asians eat a lot of weird food too.
Mm.
At least like my family does, you know, like there are people, definitely people who don't. And you know, it's also part of the hazing experience too, you know?
Oh, they bring out all the weird
They
food
bring out all the weird
to
food
test
to
you.
test you to test you out, you know.
Yeah.
That's definitely a
true.
thing.
That was something I noticed is like your mom would like, you know, like stand in the corner and like see if I am eating.
Yeah,
food.
yeah.
I mean, like I became a
Yeah.
recent, like I think a year
Yeah.
into our relationship.
Right.
So thankfully I didn't have to.
Yeah, but it is a fun thing because like one of the things, and they know that, like, you know, you're not gonna like everything, right?
Yeah.
Not even all my siblings like everything, you know, like but like for example, one of the foods that my family loves and we grew up on is balut. And for those of you who don't know, balut is a like chicken egg where the egg is like in embryo stage.
You know, I thought
Right.
it was only in the Philippines.
No, Vietnam we eat that too.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, so we use that as a hazing
Oh my
thing
goodness.
to see if like, oh, can they eat it? And so like I think you had like a bite and then like didn't want to continue eating it, and but you like
Wait, did I try it?
you tried it.
Oh.
Yeah. But
forgot.
like
Okay.
but you know, you never really eat it again, you know.
No,
eat it
no.
Again. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
We just want you to just try, see if you're willing to try it.
Yeah.
And then there's let's see. There is a dish called long hao, and it's pretty much it's like it's a sausage made out of pork blood and like mince and stuff like that. And normally it's encased in like the intestines, but my dad does the trick where it's like encased with the fallopian tube
Oh.
of the pig. Yeah, and it's actually cleaner that way. It's actually a lot cleaner than using the intestines. But like
Interesting.
you had it, I remember we just like fed you one. And it's like, oh, here, try it. But you didn't. You had one, and then like didn't bother like eating another thing again.
Oh,
but that's,
I
like,
didn't know what it was.
No, exactly. So we're just like, oh, here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know if I liked it or not.
I think
Probably not.
probably not. I
Yeah.
don't think so.
Yeah, you know, like even
Like,
before I became
even
a
my brother,
vegetarian.
even my brother doesn't like
Yeah.
it. My brother-in-law doesn't like, you know, like there's even Vietnamese people who don't like it.
Yeah.
I love it personally.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's also another thing you like. It's like a mix of different meats.
Yeah, it's a different.
Is it the same thing?
It's a little bit different. It's like I forgot what it was called, but it has like, you know, the cheek, cartilage, stuff like that, and it
Yeah.
all mixed up into like a little like cube Jello pudding, like
Yeah.
a cube Jello thing.
Yeah.
I love it. Like
It looks like a dessert, so you might be tricked into eating
yeah,
it.
it's more savory and it's more
Okay.
savory and salty, and you add some mushrooms in it too.
Yeah. And you know, like I really like the sweet stuff.
Yeah,
Whatever culture it is, if it's sweet, I'll love it.
yeah,
I have a huge sweet tooth.
yeah. And let's see. And I think when I was at your place, like we went to like the Jamaican butcher, and then your dad like ordered a bunch of food.
Oh,
And
yeah,
we
yeah.
got like goat, we got like other stuff too, you know.
Yeah.
And I think I think your dad was impressed that like I also ate the food. You know,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
I
yeah.
ate the food too.
Yeah, he was probably
yeah, because-
hazing you as well.
Yeah, because like, you know, you get the food and then you see them, and it's like kind of like one of the ways where people like connect is through food, right?
Food, yeah.
So yeah, don't be like, I mean, unless you have like dietary concerns or you're like doing a specific diet. Well, one, you should also tell like the host family
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
you have dietary concerns, right? So they won't do so they won't do like something like, if you're a vegetarian and they want to haze you with some meat, then like, you know, that's not gonna happen,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, definitely.
They'll find
like-
something else to haze you with.
Yeah.
They'll get some weird fruit. They'll be like, oh, let's pop out the durian instead.
Yeah.
You'll still get hazed regardless.
That's true. And also, as far as like when you meet the parents, they do value your education
Yeah.
a lot. So don't think, okay, like I just need to be pretty.
Yeah.
You need
Yeah.
to also have a brain.
Yeah. There's Like one thing that like I recently told my parents is like I told them that you were going back to school, right? And that you're quitting your old job, and they were just actually really impressed that like because normally if you just said, oh, she's quitting her job, then they're like, oh, are you sure? Like that's not good. But then you follow that up with, oh, but she's going back to school, and they're like, oh wow, good, she's like trying to improve herself,
Yeah.
So they were really impressed
Okay.
by that, like the like the fact that you're going back to school like outweighed anything that you said about like going like leaving
My
leaving
job.
your job, and you still
Yeah.
had your side hustles too that you're
Oh,
doing,
yeah.
so it wasn't like you're like you had a plan.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's something that like at least my parents respect, is like, oh, do they have a plan, do they like stuff like that, are they able to be self-sustained as well?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I have to still pay bills, right?
Yeah, right.
But yeah, so let's see. And then the whole concern about, what did you think about when I was wearing a headscarf when I was going to bed?
I didn't know about black women needing to or black people needing to wear headscarf, because I hadn't actually interacted with anyone black. Actually, I had a black roommate, but yeah, actually, now that I think about it, he would wear a head thing. He would wear a
Really?
thing on his head.
Oh, do-rag. It's called
Yeah,
do-rag.
he would wear a do-rag.
Oh,
Yeah.
I didn't think about that. Men
Yeah.
also. Okay, black
Yeah,
men.
so when I saw you, like, I didn't think too much about it. I was like, oh, what are you wearing that for? And like, I never asked my roommate
Yeah.
why he wore a do-rag. I just kind of took it as like, oh, okay, that's just the thing that he does,
Yeah.
And then I saw you, I was just thinking, oh, like, why do you wear that? Like, why do you wear that? And you're like, oh, it's just to make sure that my hair doesn't explode everywhere.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, that's interesting. Yeah, and then speaking of that, like, yeah, there was times like your hair in the beginning where it's like,
Yeah.
and actually this was actually a thing with like when you straightened your hair, is I don't think my parents really liked that much, right?
Really?
I think they liked it better when you like just braided it, like they liked it better when like they braided it, when you like braided it personally.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I actually so I met his parents in like the third week
Yeah.
after we, met up.
Yeah.
And I mean, that was pretty quick.
Yeah, that was pretty quick.
Actually, you wanted me to meet them.
Yeah, I figured that like might as well do it as soon as possible. Get
Yeah,
it out
yeah.
of the way. Get it out of the way, just to like make it so that my mom doesn't bug me with any like suitor requests too.
Oh,
So I'm just like,
it was just like, oh, here, I have someone.
yeah, I have someone. I'm dating someone right now. Please stop bothering me, okay?
But anyway, so before I met them, I was like anxious about my hair. I was
Yeah.
like, okay, how are they gonna see my hair? So
Yeah.
I went to the hair salon and got some keratin treatment
Yeah.
to get it straight.
No, it was that. I remember you doing that, and it turned out really weird because like the roots, like it like kind of like stuck up a bit. It like you looked like a lot, like it was kind of reminded me like of a lion's mane, and like it couldn't like lie down flat,
My edges didn't lay, guys.
Yeah, so like
The struggles, but like there's that aspect too, like the whole constantly fighting with my kinks,
Yeah. And another thing too is like one thing too is like it's like for the hair, you can just use that as an excuse to talk to them about your hair, like just tell them like, yeah, like black women have like crazy hair that or black people have crazy hair that's like completely unmanageable, because Asians, we have the exact opposite thing of like our hair is thick and straight. So it's a very alien thing to us,
Yeah.
curly hair is very alien to us.
Yeah.
It
It's a cool thing actually. Black hair is magical. Like
Yeah.
it's very unique. It resembles the DNA helix, and it like the coils are what scientists have discovered is the best way to conduct electricity. All these things you can research, so to improve your view about your hair.
Yeah.
So my insecurities about my kinky hair, my 4C hair, was actually like affecting our relationship, right? Cause like you would be concerned about me, like you're like, are you okay?
Yeah, and then like like we would have times where it's like like I would help you out with your hair, right?
Oh yeah,
Like
I taught
you,
him how to braid hair.
yeah, just to braid hair, and I'm like, oh, I might as well just like do it, And as a guy, it's not much different from like like trying to braid a rope, like braiding a rope or like braiding some wires for like a cable or something like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's a manly. There you can think of it as a manly thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Like I always thought that like guys, like dads who like ended up braiding like their daughter's hairs, I think those guys are super manly. Like they like
Yeah,
go in.
it's nice.
Yeah, like it's super like. Come on, woman. If you saw a guy doing like a woman's hair, you're gonna swoon a bit.
Yeah.
Be real. Be
And
real. You're gonna do that, and
sexy.
like they're braiding the hair with like not like any ounce of fine. They're like, oh yeah, I'll do this.
Yeah.
That guy's gonna look hot.
Yeah. And it also showed to me that you really care about
Yeah.
me, cause like, yeah, it's kind of something that, like we went on a trip,
Yeah.
and then I had a meltdown.
Yeah, I remember you had the meltdown. And I think that's like the trip that made you decide to do sister locks, and like you've
Yeah.
been happier ever since you
Yeah.
like gotten those locks.
It's been a spiritual journey. Like
Yeah.
I don't spend energy and time thinking
And
about
money.
my hair.
And
Oh,
money.
money. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you would tell me the cost of going
Yeah,
to
the
salon,
keratin treatment
and I'm
was
like, that's
$300.
crazy. I'm like, that's crazy.
Before tips and tax, $300.
Yeah,
guys.
and like I'm like, man, I make a fair amount of money, but like you make a lot less, and you're spending that much money on like hair salon treatments. I'm like, dang,
Yeah.
that's a lot.
Yeah. Why not just invest that money into your stocks or
Yeah, or savings, or like like getting
a trip?
a trip, getting nice clothes,
Go to a spa.
Yeah, and like with like keratin, like with a keratin treatment, it only lasts like how long? Like how many
However
months?
long I can muster up the
Yeah, not
all
washing
the
your hair.
itching and all that stuff that happens. And also like it always rains here in Seattle, so
Yeah,
I'd be in terror
if
every
it
time I
rains
go
and-
out.
Yeah,
So yeah, it's been really peaceful ever since I
yeah,
got
you're super zen.
Yeah.
You can still do like cool hair things with your locks.
Yeah.
Like you can still braid it. You can still like do some cool braids.
Oh yeah. And the weird thing about how I started locking my hair is I just like it started at work.
Yeah,
I was working at my desk and then I'm like, okay, let me just look up how to do sister locks
yeah,
on YouTube, and then I just started doing it
yeah,
there and then. And then I started doing that once I started going to coding boot camp.
yeah, 'Cause
And
you just
I
had
was
no time
working
to-
full time and going to school in the evenings.
yeah. You had no time to do your hair.
Yeah, and I was kind of like losing it, and then
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, whatever. Like
And then
either
you
I'll
had
shave
yeah,
it
and then
or
you had this trip. Then you went on the trip with
Yeah.
me and my family, and then like you didn't have any product and had to buy like product from like one of the stores there.
Yeah.
Fortunately, there are white women who have kinky hair.
yeah.
Like there are gingers exist. So like,
Mhm, mhm.
fortunately for you, like they had product on hand for
Yeah.
curly hair.
It was in the middle of nowhere, and I was like
Yeah.
shocked.
Yeah.
And I stayed in that store, and you
For
had
a
to
long time.
leave because I stayed there for like
Way too long. I was like, okay, I'm gonna walk around a bit. Like I can't stay in the store for like forever.
yeah, all the tortures boyfriends and partners
Yeah.
go through
Yep.
with our shopping.
Fortunately, phones exist, so you can just like.
He just
I just-
zones out. He
I just
goes to
zoned out.
another world.
Yep. read my books on my phone, stuff like that.
Yeah. Let's see.
What's the next question?
The whole how did you well, okay, we can talk about how, like we started dating in 2018.
Yeah, 2018. So
And then-
having social justice, political conversations.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
whole BLM stuff.
Yeah.
And in the beginning actually I thought you were conservative.
Yeah.
I didn't care what your political views were.
Oh,
I
yeah.
just knew you loved me and
Yeah. And I'll be real,
Yeah.
like a lot of it's like grew up and, I never I had one black friend growing up, and yeah, and I was, I treat people like pretty equally, and but a lot of things is that like I don't have the experience as a black person. So a lot of this stuff is like alien to me. I don't know what it's like to like be afraid of cops. That is something that is I will never have to deal, like I personally won't deal with.
Yeah.
And like two, like I can't be in the shoes of someone who like isn't who I'm like, okay, I go in there and see cops and then I'm like, oh no. Right.
So when you see cops for yourself, like I guess before we started dating, it was just like, oh, they're here to protect me.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. I mean, even I see them as protectors.
Yeah.
It's just like the media has an agenda. So like you have to also think about that.
And I mean, for me too, like I have a lot of like LGBTQ friends too. So like, I'm on the spectrum of things. I am more on the liberal side. I am on the liberal side of things.
That's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, and that was even like before I was dating you. Just like I just have a big number of LG. Like I don't know how that happened, but like I just have a lot of friends who are gay, trans, and stuff like that. So I'm more experienced with that stuff. And actually, that also explains like my views on like masculinity too, right? I don't really care about like, being portrayed as masculine, right? But like as long as I'm confident in like who I am as a person.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Because we definitely like talked about different
we had
things.
a lot of different topics. Not all of them were smooth, like we had a lot of awkward conversations,
It is stuff you have to talk about. You can't ignore it.
You can't ignore it
because it's everywhere.
Yeah, just kind of like talk through it, and like it will. And sometimes like we might not get, like me, I didn't get it right away.
Yeah, definitely not. And there was also a point I remember I was talking about my experiences at work. Yeah. And you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Yeah. So don't talk to me about it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, okay.
Yeah, like I just because like I didn't understand it, and like I'm glad we didn't like break up over that.
I know, right?
But like,
because I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, but like I was trying to, and it's just like I was trying to help, but like I don't have any like frame of reference to like actually give good advice, and that made me feel frustrated with myself too.
That's true. Yeah, guys want to solve your problems when you're in a relationship with them. And when you're talking about, okay, so I was just venting. Yeah. Because like I just like, it helps to just talk about it. Yeah. And then
guys are not good at like that is something I remember taking in psychology class, is like a lot of women when they vent, they want like just emotional support, like right? And for guys, when we emotionally vent, we want like a problem. We want like help with like the problem to be solved, right?
Oh, okay.
So when we give advice, that's what we got. I mean, this is very generalized. Yeah. But like like as guys, we want the problem solved. So when we're given a problem, we're like, oh, we can try to help you solve it, and that will help things out. Like help things out. But that's not always the case what the woman wants. The woman wants just like emotional support.
Yeah, just someone to listen.
Yeah, you can just say straight up, look, I don't want any like advice. I just need you to say like everything will be okay.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. And you don't, I guess it's stuff you don't understand. Like the way I talk about, okay, like at work, my coworker said such and such thing, and then that made me feel some type of way, but then you'll be like, okay. He doesn't have to understand. Yeah. And that's also a hurdle I had to go through as well, to understand that, okay, you don't, like, you're not a black man, you won't always understand. I mean, you have learned a lot.
Yeah, I have learned a lot, but I'm still not a black man. I'm still not a black man. Yeah. Can't change the amount of melanin in my skin.
Yeah, melanin or experience or just...
And I'm pretty sure that you wouldn't like it if I decided to just put on blackface.
No. That will be a cancelable offense.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. let's see. So I think we pretty much answered that whole the political,
Yeah.
like dealing with all the
Yeah. Just talk. Just talk. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, in the movies, they don't talk, but you realize that, we wouldn't have a movie if people just sat down and talk.
yeah.
So it's less sexy. It's less sexy. But hey, movies also, like, there's a lot of unnecessary troubles in movies
Yeah, it is a driver
and
in movies.
misunderstandings.
Yeah.
So in real life, you want to
Miscommunication.
actually like do the opposite of movies and just communicate a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Even if it seems like it's a small thing,
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, what are you feeling right now?
Yeah. Right.
Like, are you okay? Like, do you want to talk about this?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't want to talk about it right away, like, because you're
Yeah.
like intense about it,
Yeah.
then we can address it at
Later.
a later
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Like talk. Like sometimes I'm not in the mood to talk, so I'm just like, hey, give me some time on it.
Yeah.
Give me some time to mull it over internally, and then I'll talk to you about it.
Yeah. Like,
Right.
yeah, sometimes he shuts down.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned that, like, okay, it's not my job to, like, make him open up or, like,
Yeah.
control his emotions.
Yeah,
to
sometimes
always
I just
be happy,
like for me, and a lot of guys too. Like we grew up like internalizing a lot of our emotional like turmoil, like our emotional stuff, like not externalize it because that's
Yeah.
how like society tells us to do it, right? Society tells us to like our emotions don't matter. We shouldn't like show them, so we gotta keep them inside, right? And that sucks. But but for me, it's just like I do a little bit of both. Like I like internalize it first before like I like go into like before like I talk to other people.
Oh, okay. You
Just
feel like you have to
It's like
solve
it's
it?
like meditating. It's like meditating.
Okay.
It's like meditating on the issue before like talking about it, and like helps cool. And it's like it's kind of more of like a self calming down, and then goes to someone else, and then they help you like get rid of the rest, right?
Interesting.
Like you set up the framework for someone else to help you out pretty easily.
Okay.
That's how I see it.
Yeah. I mean, it just might be like
Yeah.
our brains work
Yeah.
differently. So.
Yeah, and like everyone's different. Every
Yeah.
human being's different.
Yeah.
Everyone has their own like tricks to solving things.
Yeah.
Like
Everyone has their own love languages, and
Yeah.
in the same way that people have different love languages, they have different languages to deal with trauma.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Okay.
forgot what I was gonna say. But the other
Having mixed babies.
black women have this God gene,
Yeah.
God gene, which means we can produce a baby that looks like any kind of race.
Huh. That's cool.
Like, two black people can have a blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby,
Huh. Neat.
white baby.
Yeah. Also, like half kids are cute.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're pretty attractive people.
Yeah, and just gotta make them welcome. Like like I plan telling them, yeah, like they're Asian and they're black, right?
Yeah, exactly. They're not just black.
Yeah, they're not just black. They're Asian and black, right?
Yeah, it triggered people when I said I'm mixed.
Yeah,
but
and like society might like say otherwise, right?
yeah.
And that's like the thing that like me as a dad, I'm gonna have to protect my kid from like all like nurture him so he can be able to like stand like be able to be confident in himself and not like have society dictate who he is.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and they don't have to be ashamed of their non-black side just because society is telling them, okay, you're black because of the one drop rule.
Yeah.
It's important to instill in
Yeah.
any kid, even if they're not mixed,
Yeah.
that they don't need to identify with anyone.
Anyone, yeah. No matter if even like my son comes out of the closet and tells me that he's like bring home a boy, I'm like, hey, you make sure you bring home a good boy though, okay? That's
Make sure you treat him right.
treat your boy right,
Yeah.
So and yeah, just accept your kids because like I've have friends who are in the LGBTQ spectrum, and like their family, it's rough hearing them say things like, oh, like they're like dads don't accept them, you know, and that sucks.
It does, yeah.
No, it's like heartbreak. It's almost like heartbreaking, you know. So like, you know, just try to support your kids as much as long as like they aren't going into like drugs and like, you know, you know, make sure that they don't ruin their lives, right?
Yeah, make sure they're not criminals and
Yeah,
stuff
right.
like that. Yeah. That is a hope for
Let's
kids.
see. Fear of biracial daughters. What? Give me
That's-
some context. Give me some context here.
So that's not on for your side, it's just for the side of black women.
Okay.
They fear having biracial daughters because biracial, like mixed black women, were put above us.
Yeah.
As like, oh, okay, they are considered more valuable than.
Because
yeah.
in Asian families, like our whole thing is like we want our kids to be better than us, right? Like that's why I mean, like for my parents, like my dad's like his happiest thing is like, oh, his kids make more money than he did.
Yeah.
You know?
No. It's
Or,
not
like,
that
stuff-
way. It's
or
just
like yeah, and
the fact that they have a non-black parent means that they are better
yeah,
genetically, not because they make more money or that
Or-
they're more educated.
yeah,
But that is something that especially black women have to deal with, because you know, at least from what you're expressing right now, you have no idea what that fear is.
right,
But black women have this like unspoken fear of having mixed daughters, especially. They don't care if they have mixed sons.
huh?
But if it is a daughter, they fear that society will value their daughter more than them. And it is true.
Yeah.
Society does.
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know if this is weird to say, but isn't that a good thing? Question mark or not? Like, if society values them, then like that's a good thing all around.
I mean,
right?
it is obviously like I would want my daughter to be treated well,
yeah.
no matter what she looks like. It's just there's this fear that, okay, like let's say if my family is colorist, then they might treat her better than they treat me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It is a weird thing to
I
deal
mean,
with.
yeah, I guess like there would be some bitter resentment from
Yeah.
your families with that, but that's like nothing that like you can't blame your kid for that, right?
That's true. Yeah, it is not their fault.
Yeah, it's not your kid's fault,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, it is though something I have to deal with.
Yeah.
I have to work through that
Yeah.
part of me to be okay with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I guess like, you know, like on like my side of the family, like, you know, my family has like, you know, the kids are gonna have to deal with they're gonna be darker skinned than like all of their cousins and stuff
That's
like
true.
that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, there is
That
gonna-
is also another concern I
that
have.
is yeah, but you know, for me, I'm just like whatever. Like if that's a good deal, then like I'll make sure that like, you know,
To
parents
protect them, yeah,
just
yeah.
protect them from that, right?
Yeah, and if like any part, either my part or your part of the family is gonna treat them worse than
Yeah, then we just don't talk to the family anymore.
exactly like
Yeah.
cut them out.
Just cut them off.
Yeah, it's you have to protect your kids.
Yeah, like the kids are gonna be the kids are like the 100% like priority here.
Yeah,
Not my parents, not like my brothers or sisters, my kids,
yeah,
right?
that's true. Let's see. We spoke about Meghan Markle.
Did we? I don't even remember who that is.
We don't know who she is. Okay. She's like half black, half white. She married
Prince Harry.
British
okay,
guy.
okay, yeah, Prince Harry. Okay, now I know. Yeah, we did talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, wait, who? Like, I was like,
Blasphemy. But anyways, yeah, so that whole thing is like she came out and spoke to Oprah
yeah,
about how the royals were concerned about the skin tone of
Yeah.
her son.
and you know what? Like,
It does
they're
sound-
just, it's
yeah.
bad, but like, you know what? I think the British royal, like, a lot of it might just come down to just like ignorant racism, you know, like just straight up ignorance, right?
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, I think
yeah.
it's colorism too.
It's colorism too, you know, like,
But you know, they did conquer like more than half of the world,
at one point, yeah.
and they still have a hold of a lot of different countries, like Canada and the
Well,
Caribbean. I mean, they
Canada?
have like yeah. They're still under British. Well, no,
No, because Canadians
They
more
have
like
different-
French. I mean, Canadians are more
they
like...
have French, but they also
Yeah.
have British.
Yeah, but I like hear more about the French part than
Yeah,
I do the British
because you
part.
listen to podcasters from
Yeah.
Quebec
Yeah,
or Montreal.
Montreal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, the French. And you know when we would go on Air Canada, like they speak in English, French, and you know,
That's pretty cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
the street signs are in English and French.
yeah, like you know, I went to Air Canada and like the guy like speaks in English first and then he speaks in French. So you know,
That's so cool. It's so sexy
yeah.
to be bilingual like that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, cool. And then one point that I said is black women who date out help de-inflate the numbers of those who want to stay with black men. Because, so, if black women don't date out, then they have to fight with other black women for the attention of black men. And when you decide to date out, it's like you're lessening the number of black women who are in the pool, who are fighting.
Yeah. So.
And it's a good thing.
Yeah. So what? Like just date who you want.
Yeah.
You know, like if I honestly like cared about like people dating their own things, like wouldn't be dating you, you know, like
Yeah.
like because in the Asian community it's like, oh yeah, date within Asians, right? And you know, it's even a big deal when we date another Asian that isn't specifically our, you know, like, our ethnicity, you know. And yeah, I mean,
don't you feel though, like in your case as an Asian man, when you date out, you're kind of lessening the pressure for other Asian men who are interested in dating only Asian women? Or is that like a leap?
That's a stretch. I don't care.
It's a stretch?
I don't
Okay.
care about other Asian men.
Yeah, you don't
as a-
care?
as a
Okay.
community.
Maybe I care too much about other black women.
Yeah, like
That's my issue.
I'm in terms of dating, like I'm very selfish when it comes to I'm very selfish when it comes to dating. Like I'm not
Oh, okay.
dating for like, you know, like
For the sake
for
of
the sake of for the sake of Asian men.
Oh,
I'm
gosh.
dating because I'm into black women, you know, I'm
Yeah.
into darker skinned women, you know.
Yeah.
So like that's just my tastes, and yeah, I'm just going to date adherence to my tastes.
That's true. It is I guess another generalization that I'll make is maybe men are more selfish when they date
Yeah.
and
maybe.
they don't care about the views of society.
Mm-hmm.
And
Because what? Like black guys date
Yeah,
out
yeah.
all the time, right?
yeah. And
And like
they
white
don't
guys
care.
white guys date out all the time too.
Oh yeah.
Like yeah, like who, and you know, who cares? I mean, like I guess like in Asian guys, a lot of us were pressured to like date with it. You know, we're pressured to date with them. But in my case, I'm like, well, you know, I don't care about what my aunts and uncles think about it. And I think that was like one of the things that like my parents were worried. It's like, oh, what will our friends think that you're
Oh,
dating
wow.
like is someone? I'm like, I don't care.
Okay.
I'm like, do I look like I care? And then like, and you know, like it was like a discussion, like, oh, but like, what are the aunts and uncles? And I was like, they probably don't care either. Like I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm like, I don't care. Like I don't care about.
Why does
what-
that matter?
Yeah, exactly. That doesn't matter to me. I talk to like our aunts and uncles maybe like once a year.
Yeah.
You know, so what do I care about it? And if you're saying that you care about it, then hey, I don't care. Like I honestly couldn't care less
Yeah.
about like what your friends think.
That's true. It is a lot of pressure to think about what people will
Yeah,
say.
Asian
In
and
general.
like Asian culture is all about bragging about your kids too.
Oh yeah. What was that term we talked about?
Is it face or like?
Oh yeah, saving face.
Yeah, saving face. Yeah, like you know, like the whole thing about like Asian parents is they like to brag about their kids. You know, like oh my kid's a doctor, or my kid's a lawyer, oh, your kid's just a like, like your kids, and this is actually the reason, like, a thing that like goes against, like, why Asians don't go into the arts or something like that. It would be like, oh, your kid's only like an artist. Oh, I hope he's doing. I hope he isn't starving too much. Well, how is he going to support his family? Like stuff like that.
Yeah. I mean, in all cultures though, like artists are, not paid well. It is
Yeah.
a field that's not very stable.
Yeah.
So even in my culture,
Mm.
we're not encouraged to go into the arts.
Yeah. I think it's definitely like art is definitely a thing where like you can't be just average.
Yeah,
Right?
you have to be
You have to
the
be
best.
good. You have
Yeah.
to be really good at what you do and really stand out in your own sort of thing in order for you to be successful. Right? And you're
Yeah,
just
yeah,
it's
of
like
course.
and really it isn't that like, like one is like it's not that like, they're less valued, it's also just that like it's also more of it's more competitive, right? You're
Yeah.
fighting against other art. You have to like your art is fighting against the art of other people, right? And you're based on like, and you're doing things like on commission, right? You're like almost like
Yeah.
a as an artist, you're like a freelancer. You
Yeah.
got to be you pretty much like compete with other freelancers.
And in general, also, like, the society in general doesn't value art.
Yeah, like
That's
I know
the reason why they don't get paid.
I know a lot of people like I've been commissioning more art recently. And a lot of times they're just shocked that I just straight up pay them
Instead of
like ghosting
bargaining.
or like yeah, instead of like bargaining, like trying to bargain the price down or like trying to pull out, like
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of them are just kind of like really scared of like being like
Oh,
kind of like ripped off.
that they have to accommodate.
Yeah, that
Okay.
to accommodate, and then like like because it takes a lot of work, right? Like a picture is cheap, but having custom artwork done for you is like expensive. They have like like artists have to like have like software that costs money or tools
Yeah.
that cost money,
And
then they
time
bring
is
in the time.
money.
Yeah, and you think like, oh, this thing's like really expensive, but then you think about how much time that goes into it. It's like they're actually getting paid less than minimum wage.
They are, yeah.
Right, even because like they put all this time into it, and then like in the end like they might get paid less than minimum wage for doing a project. Right.
Yeah, yeah,
And then
definitely.
you go to like an art thing, you'll see like the printouts are cheaper, right? The printouts are like pretty cheap, but you see like the originals like hundreds of dollars, like hundreds or even thousands of dollars, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because like all that time went into that original.
Yeah. And also art, it's only after the artist passes away that
It depends.
things get sold at like millions of dollars.
Depends. It depends.
It depends on the person.
Depends on the person.
Okay.
Like you can't just like commit suicide and expect like that to sell.
And be like, okay, give all the
Yeah.
money to my kids.
Yeah, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen unless like because like for certain artists, like they were actually very talented, right? And it wasn't until like after the fact where people started really like looking at
Yeah, yeah,
things that like oh, this guy was really good, right? And it's just kind of like natural from there.
Yeah. And also a little intermission. So, we're gonna post this podcast on YouTube
Yeah,
under Lines Between the Stars.
yeah,
So, yeah, subscribe and
like it, please. Gives us serotonin when we see numbers go up.
yes. Let's see.
What's the next topic? Let's see. Who pays on dates? 50-50 relationships? Let's see. On our dates, I pay for everything. Like
Yeah.
usually, like you're pretty good. You enjoy.
I'm just like, oh, I leave my wallet at home.
Yeah. That happens quite a bit, and for me it's fine because like I'm like I make quite a bit of money, and like I mean one thing is that I do appreciate it when you do pay for things, or like you decide to do 50-50, and decide if you say 50-50. I'm not going to be opposed to that. I think that's pretty cool, but like for me I was raised to just like as a guy I should probably pay for everything, and but yeah, it does put a strain sometimes, you know, because
Like whenever we go out.
like when we go out and like I feel like I'm being taken for granted, like it gets taken for granted, you know, like you just expect me to pay, you know,
Yeah.
expect me to pay for everything.
Yeah. So sometimes pay, you know,
Yeah.
remember to bring your wallets.
Yeah, remember to bring your wallets, like, and like say thank you when they pay, you know, like just show appreciation for like when they pay, right? And hey, maybe you don't have a, you know,
You can tip.
you can tip. Yeah, you can tip. You can be like, oh, let me take care of the tip, right? Like, because we don't exactly make the same amount of money, right?
No.
And if we go to like an expensive restaurant, then
Yeah.
like that's gonna break your wallet.
Yeah.
That's gonna break your wallet. But
I make a third of what
yeah.
he makes.
So like I would be fine with just like paying for that, right? And
I mean, I
there's-
do appreciate
Yeah.
it, and it is very sexy
yeah, and I
when
will
guys
say
pay. So
yeah.
I'll say that.
That's true. That's true. And I will say like there is also other way. Like you don't have to go to like a super expensive restaurant. You can have fun like at a really like cheap, you know, like you know, a really small restaurant. You know, that's cheaper. You know, that's cheaper, right?
Yeah.
And then there's also just cooking at home too.
Yeah, he's a good cook.
Yeah, I'm a good cook. I prefer to like cook.
I learned
at
how
home.
to cook
Yeah.
from him, and sometimes I cook, and he really appreciates it
Yeah.
because it could be stressful.
Yeah,
to
it can be.
plan.
Yeah, like sometimes it's stressful to like cook every meal. You know, it's like, hey, you know, like I'm pretty sure that there are women out there who are like, you know, full-time housewives that like cook all the time. You know, that cook all the time, and yeah, it's stressful,
It is, yeah.
right? If you just cook all the time and like you
It's
appreciate
no
it.
longer like enjoyable.
Yeah, and then you appreciate it when your significant other cooks for you, right? And yeah, it's just like, oh, like, even though maybe like, you know, they don't know how to cook, right?
Yeah.
But like, you know, they tried. They
Yeah.
try and you eat it and you're like, oh yeah, I really appreciate I appreciate it.
Yeah,
you know?
and it's good that he eats whatever I cook.
Yeah.
Because it could be, you know,
Yeah.
if you were like, no, it doesn't taste good, then
Yeah.
I wouldn't have.
Yeah. I mean, like, you have never cooked anything that's just straight up inedible. Like, that's.
I mean-
you cook stuff and you know it's edible. You know it's edible. You know it tastes good or it tastes edible. Like you
That's
know.
pretty low bar, though.
Yeah, I mean,
But
I mean, there's some bad cooks out there. There's some really bad cooks.
Oh, okay.
Like I would be honest I would be honest if I like couldn't eat something.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
I would be honest about it.
I thought you were just being nice.
No, like I would be honest about like if you like say like you like made Easy Mac and like burnt it to a char, like I'd be like, babe, I can't eat this.
Or like boiled egg in water or something.
Yeah, you know.
Or what is it, like break egg in water? Or no, sorry, like we used to watch this show called Terrace House.
Oh yeah. He just like boiled pasta and just cracks an egg in the pot.
Yeah.
The egg into the pasta water and just like eats it without any sauce.
Yeah.
Oh, that was such a funny moment. But yeah, I would be honest if you like cooked anything at that level. I'd be like, babe, what are you doing?
Yeah.
I'd be like, you need help.
Yeah. I mean, you're pretty nice about teaching
Yeah.
me how to cook too.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, just mix up who does what at the house.
Yeah,
In the
and
house,
you know,
yeah.
one thing for me, I don't like cleaning up like you know, I don't like doing dishes, but Samri likes doing dishes.
Yeah.
So that
I'm
like
more into like cleaning the house, and he's more into cooking.
yeah,
But then we do switch.
we do switch up. Like I'll do the laundry or I'll do like some of the cleaning too.
Yeah, he
Biracial.
has a guinea pig.
Yeah, I have a guinea pig and I like keep my guinea pig clean,
Yeah.
sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, like it's that's a thing that you do.
You
just-
have it's
you
a
to
balance.
Yeah, it's a balance.
It is a balance. Like you don't want to get into a situation where only one person does one thing,
Yeah.
because that leads to bitterness and resentment.
Yeah, because then you start thinking it's like, well, I cook everything, and that takes more work than cleaning.
Yeah.
You know, like that sort of thing might can happen,
Yeah.
right?
And
So
before the pandemic, it was nice when you hired people to clean the house.
yeah, that's true too. It was nice because it was like I didn't have to think about it. But now because of like the lockdown, I like stopped that. I stopped that, and
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm okay at cleaning.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Your place is way better than my brother's place.
Yeah.
I hope he doesn't listen to this.
He will listen, like, he follows this. And I'm gonna say it, man. Yo, clean your place up, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Well, last time we went to his place, it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. All right, let's see. Let's see what next thing. Asian culture is more family oriented, and that puts pressure on Asian men to get married.
So basically, the note I put down is like, for black women who are interested in dating out, go for Asian men because you don't need to worry about pressuring them to marry you.
Yeah, I mean, that's something that I would think is different. Once again, differs from person to person.
Yeah.
You know, not like all Asian men are super family oriented. There's definitely Asian guys who are just players too.
Oh yeah.
There are
I
plenty
did date
of
a guy who actually he has the same last name as you
yeah, I
from
mean,
Vietnam. Yeah.
we all have the same last name.
Is it like 80% of
Yeah, like
Vietnamese-
80% of the Vietnamese population has like the same last name.
Yeah. Anyways, he was a player.
Yeah, man, all the people who like ask me, "Oh, do you know this one?" I'm probably like, "No." Like they're like, "Are you related?" I'm like, "No."
Yeah. Apparently it's because of how in ancient Vietnam, like...
The story I was told was that like it was a way to determine whether or not like you were a spy, like if you were from out of the country and you might be potentially a spy if you have a different last name.
Oh, okay.
That's what I heard. I like someone can tell like confirm this or deny this, and then I'd be like, okay, sure, but that's what I've heard.
Yeah, comment on the YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Let's see. Should I talk about...
We can probably talk about this sometime. We're hitting at the 1 hour mark.
Yeah.
So I think this is
we can have another...
we have another clubhouse discussion thing, you know, and maybe
Yeah.
more questions will appear and we can answer them, you know.
Yeah.
You're writing down all these questions.
Yeah, all these... I listen in different club rooms.
Yeah.
As far as like black women's question or anxiety about dating out, so we can address it.
Cool. And then now we get to talk about Star Trek, and that's more of a topic that I like to talk about.
Yeah. But for this clubhouse session, we are pretty much done.
Yeah. Hey, thanks for listening in on us. For people on YouTube also listening in. Hey, thanks for watching. This is like our podcast that we decided to do. We're two people who've never podcasted before, and hey, like this has been a fun experience.
We started 2 months ago.
Yeah, like 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And yeah, like it's cool seeing like people actually like listen to this podcast. I'm glad that you people in this clubhouse right now are like listening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget to hit the greenhouse to join the...
Yeah, that's for Clubhouse. On YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe and all that, and maybe leave a comment.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for listening in.
Okay. Cool. Bye.
Bye.